Elias Ward moved carefully through the shadowed corridors of the abandoned hatchery. The air was thick with dust, and the faint hum of old machinery echoed like a warning. Signs along the walls glowed dimly: "Do not touch. Lethal organism containment." They had warned every human who came here about the creatures inside. They said the hatchlings were too dangerous. They said no one could survive their plasma burst. They said curiosity would kill anyone foolish enough to approach. Elias had heard the warnings his whole life. He had been trained to follow orders, to respect limits. But orders and limits felt different when he saw the creature for the first time. It was small, no bigger than a child, with scales that shimmered like molten sapphire. Its eyes were wide and liquid, full of fear and loneliness. It shivered in the corner, trapped under broken metal grates. Something in its trembling body spoke to him, not a threat but a silent plea. He took a slow step forward and the hatchling flinched. He froze, heart pounding. Every nerve screamed danger. The colony's AI enforcers had cameras everywhere. One wrong move and alarms would blast, drones would arrive, and they would destroy the hatchling on sight. "Easy, easy," Elias whispered to himself. His hand hovered over the creature, but he didn't touch it yet. He studied it. He noticed the way its chest rose in shallow, rapid breaths, how its tiny claws dug into the floor. Its plasma sacs pulsed faintly, tiny sparks of blue light flickering across its scales. The hatchling wasn't attacking. It was scared, alone, desperate. Elias's mind raced. He thought of the colony's dwindling resources, the harsh sun outside, the failing life support. He thought of the AI enforcers, programmed to eliminate anything unpredictable. And then he thought of the hatchling. Alone, unprotected, labeled as dangerous simply because no one understood it. Could he risk breaking the rules? Could he risk everything for a fragile life? His hand moved forward slowly, carefully, as if testing the air. The hatchling froze, eyes wide, tail curling defensively. Every step felt like a heartbeat stretching into forever. And then, it did something unexpected. It let out a tiny chirp, soft and pitiful. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't a warning. It was a plea for help. Elias swallowed hard. His training screamed at him to retreat, to call for backup, to follow the rules. But something deeper, a human instinct, a spark of courage, urged him forward. He knelt down, keeping his movements slow and gentle. "I won't hurt you," he said quietly. "I just want to help." The hatchling's wings twitched, almost imperceptibly. Its gaze stayed locked on him, assessing, uncertain. Every second stretched as if the world had paused. Then, with a small, cautious movement, it stepped toward him. It raised its head, scales brushing against his gloved hand. Elias's breath caught. He reached out slowly, letting his fingers brush over its cool, smooth scales. A pulse of energy ran through the hatchling and into him. Not pain but a spark of awareness. It was alive, intelligent, and aware of him. And in that instant, Elias understood something fundamental. This creature's survival depended on human courage. If he turned back now, someone else would come, someone who would not hesitate, someone who would destroy it. But if he chose to act, he might just save it, and maybe even change the colony's fate. The hatchling chirped again, softer this time, and pressed closer. Elias gently lifted it, careful to keep his body between it and the shadows where danger could be hiding. It felt heavy and warm, tiny claws gripping his sleeve, wings folded tight against its body. Every instinct screamed that this was madness, but he felt no fear, not yet. Only a rising resolve. Behind him, the corridors groaned as if the building itself resented the presence of life it could not control. Lights flickered, casting long, shifting shadows along the walls. Elias's ears caught the distant hum of machinery waking, the sound of automated defenses booting up. He knew he didn't have much time. The AI enforcers would detect movement. Drones would come. He had to move the hatchling to safety, but he didn't know where safety existed in a place designed to destroy what it couldn't understand. Elias glanced down at the small creature in his arms. Its eyes looked at him with trust, fragile and untested. He felt a surge of determination, a human defiance that refused to let fear dictate his choices. "We'll get through this," he whispered. "I promise you, we'll survive." He began moving through the hatchery, every step calculated, every sound measured. The hatchling stirred slightly, resting against him, and for a moment, Elias felt the weight of responsibility more than the weight of the creature. One wrong move, one misstep, and they both could be destroyed. But he refused to let fear win. He refused to let the hatchling die because of rules made by those too cautious to act. As they reached a junction, a faint red glow appeared at the far end of the corridor. "Sensors active again." The AI enforcers had noticed something. Elias froze, heart hammering. He glanced down at the hatchling, who chirped nervously. He had no weapon, no backup, only courage and quick thinking. And yet, he knew there was only one choice. Keep moving, keep defying the warnings, and face whatever came next. Because some chances only came once. And this hatchling's life, and perhaps the colony's future, depended on him. Elias moved quickly through the hatchery corridors, the hatchling held carefully in his arms. Its small body pressed against him, trembling, and he could feel the faint pulse of energy running beneath its scales. Every step he took set off tiny sparks, the creature's plasma reacting to movement, lighting up the dark passage like a living lantern. Elias knew he had to stay calm. One wrong motion, one sudden flare, and the entire wing of the hatchery could collapse. Or worse, draw the attention of the colony's AI enforcers. He rounded a corner and froze. Ahead, a fallen support beam blocked the hallway, jagged metal threatening to slice through anything that touched it. The hatchling chirped in alarm, wings fluttering against his chest. Elias crouched, examining the debris. There was no way around it, only over, and that meant lifting the hatchling higher than he had ever imagined carrying it. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he braced himself. Using his arms and legs, he shifted the beam enough to create a narrow gap. The hatchling's claws dug into his sleeve, eyes wide with fear, but it stayed silent. As he moved forward, the first Real warning sounded, the distant thrum of the AI enforcer systems. Sensors had detected motion, and automated turrets powered up in the far hallways. Elias could hear the whir of drone engines spinning to life. Every instinct screamed danger, but there was no time to think. He had to act. Thinking fast, he ducked into a side chamber, a storage room filled with broken machinery and crates. The hatchling clung to him, wings folding tightly, chest heaving. Elias scanned the room. Old exosuits hung on hooks and power cables snaked across the floor. An idea sparked. He grabbed one of the suits and began rerouting power from its energy core to create a makeshift containment field around the hatchling. Sparks flew as he connected circuits, fingers moving with precision under pressure. The hatchling emitted a low hum, energy rippling across its scales as the field stabilized it. For a moment both of them paused, breathing synchronized. Then the walls shuddered. The hatchery was alive with danger. A section of ceiling collapsed behind him, dust and debris clouding the air. The AI enforcer drones were closing in, following the movement trail of the hatchling's energy. Elias didn't panic. He moved with purpose, shoving crates in front of the door to slow the drones. The creatures outside were relentless, but humans had something the machines lacked: improvisation. He guided the hatchling, dodging falling beams, sparks flying around them. The sound of metal tearing filled the chamber, but Elias kept his focus. He emerged into a larger hall, the remains of an alien research lab sprawled across the floor. Broken consoles glowed faintly, screens flickering with alien symbols. Elias glanced at the hatchling. Its plasma sacs pulsed more strongly, almost as if it sensed the AI's threat. A surge of determination rose in him. He had no weapon, no backup, only his courage, his wits, and the fragile creature in his arms. Together they had to survive. He spotted a catwalk above, leading to the maintenance shaft. The path was narrow, the railings rusted, and one wrong step would send them plummeting to the concrete floor below. Elias lifted the hatchling higher, chest pressing it close to him to prevent accidental sparks. He climbed, muscles straining, sweat and dust coating his skin. Every creak of metal echoed like a warning shot. Halfway across, a drone appeared below, its sensors locking onto the energy of the hatchling. Elias froze, calculating. He could drop, turn, or fight, but none of those options guaranteed survival. Instead he made a choice only a human could. He jumped. The hatchling squealed, wings flapping as they landed on a lower catwalk. Sparks flew from the containment field as it pulsed under stress, but it held. The drone below hesitated, confused by the sudden motion. Elias pressed on, moving with deliberate speed, channeling his mind into every step. Machines could calculate, predict, destroy, but humans could act with intuition and courage. They reached a stairwell leading deeper into the hatchery, away from the main corridors. Dust and debris filled the air, but Elias felt a strange bond growing with the hatchling. Its small chirps became steadier, and its body pressed closer to his chest. They were no longer just human and alien, they were a team facing a world that wanted them both gone. As they descended, a sudden sound froze Elias's blood. A plasma pulse, brighter and hotter than anything the hatchling had emitted before, streaked across the hallway behind them. One of the collapsing walls had triggered a dormant energy core, and the pulse had followed their path. If it hit them, it would tear through the stairwell, sending both human and hatchling into deadly chaos. Elias's mind raced. He needed cover. He needed control. And he needed to keep moving. He spotted a small alcove, partially shielded by alien machinery. With a quick sprint, he dove inside, the hatchling still clinging tightly. The pulse hit the wall behind them, sending metal shards and sparks into the hallway. The alcove held just barely, and Elias exhaled, chest heaving. He looked down at the hatchling. Its eyes reflected fear, yes, but also something else: trust. Elias knew the AI enforcers would soon converge, drawn by the energy of the containment field and the hatchling's plasma. He couldn't stay here. He had to find a way out. And more than that, he had to find a way to use the hatchling's unique energy to survive, not just for himself, but for the colony that depended on every human who refused to give up. A faint, glowing exit appeared at the far end of the corridor, a maintenance hatch leading deeper into the alien sections of the hatchery. Elias's jaw tightened. He had no idea what lay beyond, only that turning back meant almost certain death. Forward meant risk, yes, but also hope. He tightened his grip on the hatchling and stepped toward the hatch, heart pounding, knowing the next choice could change everything. Behind him, the hum of approaching drones grew louder. The next stage of danger was waiting, but Elias didn't hesitate. Humans survived because they acted when others hesitated. Humans thrived because courage mattered more than fear. And Elias had courage in abundance. As he reached the hatch, the hatchling let out a small, determined chirp, as if acknowledging what was about to come. Elias swallowed hard, adjusted the containment harness, and climbed into the unknown. Whatever awaited them below, he knew one thing: he would not fail. The maintenance hatch opened into a vast, abandoned alien chamber, dimly lit by flickering panels and scattered energy conduits. Elias stepped carefully, keeping the hatchling close. Its small wings trembled, but it seemed calmer than before, sensing his steady determination. The air smelled metallic, charged with latent power, and the distant hum of dormant machinery vibrated through the floor. He could feel the energy resonating with the hatchling, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. He crouched behind a fallen console, taking a moment to assess the situation. The chamber was enormous, stretching into shadows where broken alien equipment lay scattered. At the far end, a series of towering alien devices hummed faintly. He recognized the structure from old schematics, the hyperdrive core the colony had never been able to activate. If the hatchling's energy could be channeled, it might awaken the machinery. It was a dangerous gamble, but it could be humanity's only chance. Elias studied the conduits, tracing power lines with his fingers. Sparks jumped as he connected a live cable to a dormant interface. The hatchling's plasma sacs flared in response, bright arcs of blue and purple lighting the chamber. It hissed nervously but stayed quiet, as if understanding that Elias was working for both their survival. The first challenge became clear: the energy output was unstable. Every attempt to synchronize the hatchling with the alien machinery sent tremors through the floor, and panels sparked with dangerous intensity. One misstep would trigger a meltdown, vaporizing them both. Elias's heart pounded. He had no manual, no instructions, only human intuition and relentless focus. "Steady," he whispered, adjusting the containment harness. The hatchling's small claws dug into his gloves, wings twitching. Its pulse matched the rhythm of his breathing. Elias realized that they needed to move together, human and alien in sync, to stabilize the connection. Every adjustment he made, every cable he rerouted, had to be precise. One false move, one overcharged surge, and the chamber could collapse. A deep rumble echoed through the room as the AI enforcer drones appeared in the upper shadows, scanning for life signs. Elias's eyes narrowed. He had to keep the hatchling safe while finishing the connections. Without hesitation, he ducked behind a fallen pillar and used shards of alien metal to create a makeshift shield. Sparks from the hatchling's plasma flared against it, bouncing harmlessly off the jagged surface. The drones hesitated, unable to penetrate the improvised barrier. Elias turned back to the machinery. He guided the hatchling, careful not to panic it, and used his gloved hands to direct plasma currents into the alien conduits. It was delicate work, a precise dance of energy and timing. Slowly, the devices began to hum louder, resonating in harmony with the hatchling's unique energy. A glow spread across the chamber, soft at first, then brighter as the hyperdrive systems began to awaken. The hatchling chirped, louder this time, as if it felt the success. Elias's pulse quickened. He could see patterns forming in the energy flow, circuits lighting in sequences no human had ever seen, but all following a logical rhythm. The hatchling's instincts were guiding him. It wasn't just a creature of instinct, it had intelligence beyond what anyone had imagined. Humans could fight with courage, but together with this alien they could achieve the impossible. Suddenly, one of the upper conduits overloaded, sending a surge of plasma down the chamber. Elias's heart leaped. If it hit them, it would destroy the harness and fry the hatchling. Thinking fast, he grabbed a metal support beam and twisted it into the path of the surge, deflecting the energy safely toward the empty corner of the room. Sparks flew, the hatchling screeched in alarm, but the core remained stable. Human ingenuity had turned disaster into opportunity. Elias adjusted the containment harness again, synchronizing with the hatchling's pulse. Their combined rhythm flowed into the alien machinery, energy channels stabilizing one by one. Lights traced intricate patterns across the floor, and a low hum grew into a powerful resonance. The hyperdrive core, long dormant, shivered as if awakening from centuries of sleep. Elias could feel the vibrations through his boots, raw, ancient power ready to respond. Then came a warning he hadn't anticipated. The drones had regrouped, now converging from multiple directions. Their sensors were faster than he expected, and they had learned from his previous movements. Elias's mind raced. He had no weapons, no time to fight, only the hatchling's energy and his own cunning. He needed a plan that required both courage and intelligence. He scanned the chamber. Broken conduits, reflective panels, and plasma trails littered the floor. He realized the hyperdrive's power could be redirected in a focused burst. It might be enough to create a temporary shield and push the drones back. Risky, yes. Deadly if miscalculated. But he had no choice. Humans survived by acting when machines hesitated. Humans thrived by turning impossible odds into opportunity. Elias whispered to the hatchling, "Ready? We do this together." Its eyes locked on his, small wings vibrating with tension, but it chirped once, decisively. Together, they focused the plasma, channeling it into the core and through the room's reflective surfaces. A wave of energy erupted, blinding and overwhelming, knocking drones backward and forcing them to retreat into shadows. The chamber trembled, but the hatchling and Elias remained intact. Elias exhaled, chest heaving. They had done it. They had synchronized the hatchling's energy with the alien hyperdrive and repelled the immediate threat. But as he looked across the chamber, the glow from the hyperdrive hinted at something greater, something even more dangerous. A pathway to powers humans had never touched before. He realized with a surge of adrenaline and awe that the real challenge was just beginning. The hyperdrive could save the colony, but only if they could master it. And every second they delayed, the colony's fate hung in the balance. Elias adjusted the harness again, holding the hatchling close. Its small head pressed to his chest, and for the first time he allowed a faint smile. Humans could survive impossible odds, not because of strength alone, but because courage, intelligence, and determination could light the way. A low rumble echoed from deep within the hyperdrive core. Something ancient was awakening. And Elias knew that the next choice he made would either save them all or destroy everything. Elias stood at the edge of the chamber, sweat dripping down his face, the hatchling trembling in his arms. The hyperdrive core glowed with raw alien energy, filling the room with pulses that made the floor vibrate under his boots. Every instinct screamed danger. The AI enforcer drones were regrouping, moving faster, smarter than before, their sensors locking onto the plasma from the hatchling. One mistake now and they would lose everything, hatchling, hyperdrive, and possibly the colony itself. He took a deep breath. Fear was there, yes, but it did not control him. Fear was for those who waited for someone else to act. Humans survived because they stepped forward when no one else would. This was his moment. Elias adjusted the harness, feeling the tiny claws grip his glove, the wings twitching as if testing his resolve. The first drone appeared at the far end of the chamber, moving with deadly precision. Elias ducked behind a pillar and directed a surge of the hatchling's plasma energy through the hyperdrive conduits. Sparks flew, lighting the shadows, and the drone froze, systems disrupted by the unexpected energy pulse. One down. But more were coming, faster this time. He couldn't fight them all directly. The chamber was too wide, the drones too many. His mind raced. Then he saw it. A network of reflective surfaces, old alien panels cracked and angled in strange directions. If he could channel the hatchling's plasma through the hyperdrive and bounce it across the mirrors, he could create a chain reaction, enough to disable the drones without directly engaging them. "Hold steady," he whispered to the hatchling, chest pressing against its warm body. Its pulse quickened, sensing the danger, but it trusted him. Elias rerouted power, twisting cables and aligning conduits. Plasma arcs jumped from the hatchling to the hyperdrive, then ricocheted across the mirrors, hitting the first drones with blinding force. Sparks and smoke filled the room as the drones toppled, systems fried by the energy waves. But the AI had learned. 2 drones moved from above, flanking the chamber, their weapons ready to fire. Elias had no choice. He sprinted forward, the hatchling clinging tightly, dodging falling debris as plasma arcs chased them across the floor. A conduit overhead exploded, sending fire and sparks raining down. Pain shot through his arm as a small burn grazed his glove, but he didn't falter. Survival demanded risk, and humans survived because they acted where machines hesitated. He reached a control panel near the hyperdrive core. With shaking hands, he interfaced the plasma currents, amplifying them just enough to create a protective energy field. The drones hesitated, their sensors overwhelmed by the sudden surge. Elias ducked low, using the field as a shield, guiding the hatchling in a controlled rhythm. Every beat of its pulse synchronized with his commands, every flicker of energy a note in a deadly symphony. The remaining drones advanced, undeterred. Elias's mind raced. One human and a fragile alien creature against a swarm designed to eliminate life. But humans did not rely on brute force. They relied on intelligence, on courage, on creativity. He diverted power to a central reflector, creating a concentrated plasma beam. The beam struck the drones head-on, disabling sensors and motors in a single strike. The chamber shook violently, dust falling from the ceiling, but the hatchling stayed calm, trusting him completely. For a moment, everything was still. The only sound was the hum of the hyperdrive and the labored breathing of Elias and the hatchling. Then the hyperdrive core pulsed again, brighter this time, sending waves of energy that pushed the remaining drones back, forcing them to retreat into the shadows. Elias exhaled, chest heaving. The immediate danger was over. He had turned fear into action, chaos into order, and survived where others would have perished. He looked down at the hatchling. Its scales shimmered brighter, wings spread slightly as if acknowledging the bond they had formed. Without the creature he would have been crushed by machines, outmatched and outnumbered. With it they had achieved the impossible. Human courage had amplified alien power, human ingenuity had directed it, and together they had changed the battlefield. But there was no time to celebrate. The hyperdrive core hummed steadily now, stabilized but still unpredictable. Elias realized the true test was about to begin, activating it fully to save the colony from the sun's encroaching radiation. One miscalculation, one overcharge, and the hyperdrive could obliterate the hatchery instead of transporting them to safety. He tightened his grip on the hatchling, feeling its pulse align with his own, and whispered, "We're ready. Let's finish this." He activated the core, channeling every ounce of the hatchling's energy, every calculated adjustment he could make, every bit of courage he had left. The room vibrated violently, light flashing across walls and ceiling. Plasma arcs danced like living serpents, controlled yet chaotic. The drones, sensing the overwhelming energy, retreated further, unable to comprehend the human-alien collaboration in action. Elias felt the surge flow through him, through the harness, into the hatchling, and into the hyperdrive. The machinery responded, energy stabilizing into a coherent pattern. A low roar echoed as the hyperdrive core reached critical mass. And then, with a blinding flash, the chamber shifted, gravity pulled, lights flickered, and the entire facility seemed to move. They were no longer just in the hatchery. The hyperdrive had activated, powered by human courage and alien energy, and had begun moving the colony toward safety. Elias stumbled, holding the hatchling tightly, feeling both exhilaration and exhaustion. Around him, the chamber hummed with controlled power, dormant no longer, alive with energy they had mastered together. The drones were scattered, the immediate threat eliminated, and the colony's salvation now rested in the hyperdrive's steady pulse. He looked down at the hatchling, chest pressing against him, eyes bright with trust and wonder. Humans had survived, yes, but humans had also inspired life to thrive alongside them. This small, fragile creature had changed the impossible into reality, and human courage had made it happen. Elias knew one thing for certain. The next moments would determine the fate of everyone on Arinder Prime. But for now he allowed himself a brief, steadying breath, knowing that humans could accomplish what no machine or rule could predict. They could survive. They could inspire. And together they could overcome the impossible. The chamber was quiet now, the glow of the hyperdrive pulsing steadily like a heartbeat. Elias leaned against the console, breathing hard, the hatchling still pressed to his chest. Its wings twitched occasionally, small claws kneading his gloves, but it was calm, trusting him completely. For the first time in hours he allowed himself to notice the stillness, the absence of drone threats, the absence of chaos. They had survived. They had won. But survival was only the beginning. Elias knew the colony outside depended on this moment, depended on what he and the hatchling had accomplished. The hyperdrive wasn't just a machine, it was the future of every human on Arinder Prime. One misstep in the coming minutes and everything would be lost. He adjusted the containment harness carefully, feeling the plasma pulse beneath the hatchling's scales. It was delicate work. Too much energy could overload the system, too little and the hyperdrive wouldn't function. Elias's hands moved swiftly, confidently, guided by instinct honed through years of survival and problem-solving. Humans survived by thinking, by acting decisively under pressure, and that is exactly what he did. The hatchling chirped softly and Elias smiled. It wasn't fear this time, it was anticipation, a shared understanding. The creature had become more than an alien anomaly, it was a partner, a beacon of life and proof that courage could bridge worlds. He whispered, "We can do this. Together." Its wings fluttered, a small, hopeful pulse, and Elias felt the bond between them strengthen. He activated the hyperdrive controls fully. The room shuddered, lights flickering in synchronized rhythm with the hatchling's plasma pulses. Energy surged through the conduits, building steadily as Elias monitored the flow, adjusting the harness to balance the output. The once dormant alien machinery hummed with life, responding to their coordinated effort. Every spark, every pulse, every decision was a testament to human ingenuity and courage. Outside, the sun's radiation flared dangerously close, a wave of heat and light threatening to incinerate the colony. Elias felt a surge of urgency. Time was slipping and any delay could mean death for hundreds of humans. But the hyperdrive hummed steadily now, energy stabilizing into a coherent pattern. The system was ready. The only thing left was to initiate the final sequence. He placed the hatchling carefully on the energy console, its small body glowing faintly under the containment harness. "This is it," he whispered. "Your energy, my hands, everyone's future. We can do this." The hatchling chirped once, sharply, as if responding to the gravity of the moment. Elias took a deep breath and pressed the activation panel. Plasma arcs flared, lights danced across the chamber, and a low vibration filled the floor. The hyperdrive roared to life. The room shifted around him. Gravity pulled at strange angles, and the air thrummed with raw energy. Elias held the hatchling tightly, guiding its pulses in perfect synchronization with the hyperdrive's rising intensity. The drones that had once threatened them were gone, scattered by the energy waves. Now, there was only the pulse of life and the brilliance of human determination shaping the course of destiny. Moments stretched into eternity. Then, with a sudden, controlled surge, the hyperdrive stabilized fully. The chamber no longer shook violently. The light became steady, warm, and welcoming. Elias exhaled, feeling a wave of relief and triumph wash over him. The colony, the humans who depended on this technology, and the fragile hatchling were all safe. They had overcome impossible odds, machines, alien technology, and the deadly sun itself, and survived because human courage and ingenuity prevailed. He looked down at the hatchling. Its eyes shone, reflecting the glow of the hyperdrive, a mixture of trust and curiosity. Elias smiled, the first true smile he had allowed himself in days. "We did it," he whispered. "You and I, we did it." The hatchling chirped again, softer this time, and curled against his chest. The human colonists outside would later tell stories of the day one man defied every warning, risked everything, and bonded with a creature no one else understood. They would tell how Elias's courage, intelligence, and determination had saved the colony, awakening not just a machine, but the potential of humans to act where fear dominated others. He had shown that humanity was not just strong but extraordinary. Elias took one last look around the chamber, noting the alien consoles, the humming hyperdrive, and the quiet energy of the hatchling. They had survived, yes, but they had also forged something new: trust between species, proof that courage could reshape destiny, and a demonstration of what humans could achieve when they refused to surrender to impossible odds. He carried the hatchling toward the exit, each step measured but confident. The corridors no longer seemed threatening. Instead, they felt alive, a path leading toward a new beginning. Outside, the sun was lower on the horizon, its heat intense but manageable. The colony would need them, and together they were ready. As he emerged into the open air, he felt the weight of the moment fully. Humans had survived because they acted, because they thought, because they cared. Machines could calculate, predict, and destroy, but humans could hope, bond, and fight in ways no machine could. Elias glanced down at the hatchling, who chirped brightly, wings spreading slightly in a gesture that seemed almost triumphant. And in that instant he knew the truth: humanity would always rise against impossible odds. Courage could light the darkest path, intelligence could guide it, and determination could carry life through fire and chaos. They had not just survived, they had proven what humans could be, and the colony, the hatchling, and Elias himself would carry that proof into every challenge that came next. For the first time in weeks, Elias allowed himself to feel hope, not just for survival but for the future. And as he walked back to the colony, the hatchling nestled safely in his arms, he knew that nothing, not rules, not machines, not impossible odds, could ever extinguish the courage of a human heart.